got some juicy quarterback rumors coming up here on the Raiders Report. I'm Mitchell Renz, and Sam Darnold was linked to the silver and black. Aaron Rodgers, could he come to the Raiders? Matthew Stafford, is he on his way to Las Vegas? The bottom line is this. Every single quarterback that either might be traded, might hit free agency, or is already a free agent is going to be connected to the Las Vegas Raiders. And anytime I get asked so often about certain people, certain players, I got to make a video on it, which is exactly what we're doing here on today's show. If you want to stay up to date on all things going on around quarterback news, quarterback rumors, whether it's the NFL or the Raiders, make sure you're subscribed, make sure your notifications are turned on, because I would say until free agency starts, which the official date is March 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern time, tampering periods 48 hours even before that, quarterbacks is going to be what I talk about a lot here on this show. So let's get into the very first thing. It's around Sam Darnold going to the Raiders. And if you didn't see the report from ESPN's Adam Schefter, he linked Darnold to the Las Vegas Raiders this week, saying that it's very likely that the Raiders are going to be interested in the Minnesota Vikings quarterback, and this has been something that I've talked about, multiple times on this show. Here's what Schefter had to say. One team that I would watch with Sam Darnold moving forward would be the Las Vegas Raiders. I think at some point in time, they're going to have some interest in trying to bring Darnold to Las Vegas. We'll see if they can make it happen. When you look at everything that the Raiders have done this offseason, it is predicated around trying to bring in a veteran journeyman quarterback, and Sam Darnold is a name to eye. Jeremy Fowler, though, also is somebody that said that the Vikings still could potentially try to bring him back, though it is unlikely. I was talking to Patrick Seatman. He's the one who covers the Viking show here at Chat Sports, and it does sound like this one's still a little bit of an up-in-the-air topic, though it looks like Darnold's going to be moving on, and the Vikings have their eyes on J.J. McCarthy or maybe even another quarterback. Fowler had this to say on Darnold. The Vikings have not yet made a firm determination on Sam Darnold's future with the team. His strong play this season has caused them to pause and take a hard look at their options. Bringing him back feels like a stronger possibility than it was 5 or 6 months ago, but the Vikings will have a cap on spending here. The Raiders don't really have a cap on how much they can spend. They got $92.3 million, and Darnold is the top free agent quarterback out on the market, and I forecast that he's going to get paid like a top quarterback on the market in free agency, somewhere between 25, 35. I hope it doesn't get near $40 million per year. Then Las Vegas, the people that make some odds, and this is where it originated, where there's smoke, there's fire, because, there's reports coming in from Schefter, there's reports coming in from Fowler. Vegas always seems to know things that happen before the general public does, and it's not a surprise. Sam Darnold to the Raiders, it's got the second highest odds at plus 350. The Vikings are the best odds. So if you're somebody sitting up here going, I don't think that he's going to go to Minnesota, the fact that the Vikings and the Raiders are the clear top destinations for Darnold, then it's a big tear gap with the Steelers. And when you look at what the Steelers might do, I don't think that they're going to be interested in Sam Darnold. It's either the Vikings or the Raiders for Darnold, according to Vegas. And I'm somebody that thinks that Sam Darnold has a better chance to go to the Raiders. So we're doing this a little bit different today. I'm going to talk about what's going on around each player, and then I'll tell you how likely it is. Sam Darnold to the Raiders. I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies. I'm going to say people are talking. I'm legitimate when I mean this. Get a coin out, flip it in the air. Call it heads, call it tails, whatever it lands on. If you got it right, Sam Darnold signs with us. If you got it wrong, Sam Darnold ain't signing with us. But I did say back on February 4th, 2025, the most likely quarterback that the Raiders signed this offseason to pair with Chip Kelly is, in fact, Sam Darnold. And there has been tons of smoke around Darnold, and it doesn't surprise me that now there's even more of this smoke coming after the NFL Super Bowl because of Media Day and everybody that talks during Media Day. The Raiders front office, the coaching staff moves. When you bring in John Spytek, who's worked with a bunch of journeyman quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield. When you look at Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. When you even talk about Tom Brady himself, he was a journeyman quarterback at one time when he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, leaving the New England Patriots. When you bring in Chip Kelly, it all points to one quarterback. To me, one of the quarterbacks that you got to consider is Sam Darnold, but I will say no matter what, the Raiders will add a QB in free agency, which, yes, is bad news for Minshew. He's gone anyway. It's bad news for Aidan O'Connell, but that's what's going to happen when you give your offensive coordinator a raise, making him the highest paid OC in the National Football League. Chip Kelly wants a new quarterback. So tell me down below, it's going to be the pinned comment here on today's show, yes or no to the 1,400 people watching this live show. Do you want the Raiders to sign Sam Darnold? My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say a little bit of a no, because in today's offseason with the Raiders, you got to lay out a plan. You can't go out and sign Sam Darnold and do everything that doesn't make sense to go along with it. To me, I say yes. If he is clearly a bridge quarterback on a good contract. I like Darnold at a value of $25 to $30 million per year. I would give him those first 2 years fully guaranteed, and then in that third year, I would give an out clause because I want the Raiders to draft a QB, learn underneath the 27-year-old Darnold, and then hand the keys to the car when we're moving on. If Darnold's the long-term answer, no, I don't want Sam Darnold. If it's more than 2 years and if it's more than $35 million, I'm not interested. If the Raiders want to go give Darnold a 3-year, $40 million deal and he's making $120 million, I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to go, I don't think that that's a very good deal for the Silver and Black, because one of the things that you're seeing right now teams do is they go out and they sign a quarterback and then that QB doesn't end up being very good. I think Derek Carr with the Saints is a perfect example of that. It's a good QB, but it's clearly not somebody that's going to get you to a Super Bowl. I think Sam Darnold is a good QB, but does anybody think that he's going to win a Super Bowl? I personally do not think so, and I don't want to pay a quarterback $40 million if I don't think that they have a chance to win me a Super Bowl. But I do believe in this Raiders coaching staff to help groom Darnold, just like last season. Anytime the Raiders brought in somebody on the defensive line, I said, I believe in Rob Leonard, I believe in Patrick Graham, and a lot of those players like Caleb Von Chasen, Tyree Wilson got better and better and better. Malcolm Kuntz got better. When I look at Pete Carroll, when I look at John Spytek, when I look at Greg Olson, when I look at Chip Kelly, I look at a lot of people, Tom Brady, and I go, they are smart enough to get the most out of Sam Darnold. I can't guarantee you that Darnold's going to throw for 35 touchdowns again. I can't guarantee you that he's going to do everything that he did last season, but I know this. If Darnold even just throws for, let's say, 28 touchdowns, throws for 12 interceptions, right around 4,000 yards. That puts the Raiders at least in a window to potentially make the playoffs. And I'd make the argument, Sam Darnold on the Raiders in 2025 would be the best quarterback that the Raiders have had on their team since Derek Carr in 2016. Because when I take Sam Darnold at his current contract, let's say Sam Darnold at $30 million or Derek Carr at $30 million, I'm taking Sam Darnold every day of the week because Darnold right now is a better quarterback than Derek Carr. Coming up here, how likely is it, though, that the Raiders could go out and potentially add an Aaron Rodgers, go out and potentially add a Matthew Stafford? Because not only free agency isn't the only thing that could happen. You can make some trades, and there's obviously big-name QBs are going to be linked to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll tell you these stories coming up here in just a moment. But first, shout out to our sponsor here, PrizePicks. You're going to be able to get $50 when you play $5 over at PrizePicks.com/CLNS. And I love me some PrizePicks, and I think that you will too. Somebody just said, Mitch, what about Aidan O'Connell? Sam Darnold is light years better than Aidan O'Connell. You know what else is light years better? The deals that PrizePicks is hooking up their people with. Also, it's All-Star Weekend. It's almost here, and PrizePicks is the best place to win cash while watching your favorite players during the game and the Saturday night events like the three-point contest. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All you got to do is pick more. You pick less. I know that my big game lineup didn't quite hit, but you know what? Had a lot of fun watching it. If Saquon Barkley would have scored a touchdown, I would have been able to cash in. But you know what? Still had a great time hanging out with everybody. FKC's down below. If you want to take advantage of our deal with PrizePicks, it's PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. That way they know we sent you. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers time now. And as Rodgers coming to the Raiders, there are multiple reports out there that the Jets are going to be moving on from Rodgers this offseason. The two tried to get together yesterday, and New York was not interested. The Raiders, of course, are a team that's inked to him simply because They're the Raiders. Rodgers is 42 years old, and if you remember, Rodgers at one point was interested in joining the Silver and Black. But just like Sam Darnold, just like every QB, the Raiders are going to be a team that's going to always be featured in the next team odds. And look at them. They're at plus 300 there. Second place behind the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 200. But then there's a lot more teams in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes simply because there's a lot more unknowns. I don't know if you remember this, though. The Raiders were a team that was linked to Aaron Rodgers back in 2022. This is before he went to the New York Jets. I remember talking about it over and over and over again. Do you remember, there was even discussions that Rodgers could get a house out in Vegas, but Josh McDaniels didn't want him, and I didn't mind the idea of the Raiders not going out and getting Rodgers. I would have taken Rodgers way before I would have taken anybody like Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the same time, Rodgers there was a chance then. The question is there a chance now the Raiders could bring him in? And that's what we're going to discuss here. So Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders. How many just win babies is this one going to be? I was going to make this a 0. And the first time I made this video, it was a 0. This time I'm going to give it one just win baby, and it's because you got to look at Rodgers' contract. I'll admit, I don't think that there's going to be a team out there that ends up trading for the veteran, but maybe the Raiders could be interested. So the fact that we know that the Jets could cut Rodgers if nobody trades for him, most NFL teams knowing that say, well, why would I trade for somebody if I can just sit back and I can wait for him to be cut, then I can go out and I can sign him. Would Rodgers potentially take a team-friendly deal? I've said it before. He's a very selfish human being, and I don't know if he's going to do it. If it was up to me and if I was a betting man, I would say Rodgers ends up going to the Pittsburgh Steelers based on a lot of the things that Jay Glazer has said, which I talked about some of those Jay Glazer reports in the video I did last week, the bombshell report with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, if you want to hear about those. But there's a lot of rumors right now and speculation linking Rodgers to the Steelers, and Glazer, again, is best friends with Mike Tomlin. But to me, the reason why I only got to give this one just win, baby, is because the Raiders want to build a culture, and Aaron Rodgers is the definition of a cancer. And I know I don't know Rodgers personally, but at the same time, I'm somebody that believes the way that you act around your friends and family is probably the way that you act in real life. There's a reason why teams don't like Aaron Rodgers. There's a reason why players don't like Rodgers. There's a reason why his own family has disowned Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's because he's a selfish human being. But Tom Brady did leave the New England Patriots. Everybody thought he was washed. Ended up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with John Spytek and ended up winning a Super Bowl at age 44. Rodgers, I get it, is 41, and Rodgers and Tom Brady are two totally different people, and Rodgers turns 42 in December. I'll also say this, though. There is a little bit of smoke right now around Rodgers and the Raiders talking, but it does scare me just a little bit. When you look at his contract, though, okay, Rodgers' contract is broken down like this. He's got a $35 million option bonus before the season. So if you're the Raiders and you trade for Rodgers, you're taking on that $35 million option bonus. His base salary, though, is only $2.5 million. The total 2025 cash is $37.5. His cap hit is $9.5. The dead money, if you want to move on from him in 2026, is $28 million. So if you're the Raiders, hypothetically speaking, you're taking on some extra money. And for the Las Vegas Raiders, who's got more ownership now, they've already shown that they're not afraid to go out and spend a little bit more money on Chip Kelly, spend a little bit more money on Patrick Graham. Aaron Rodgers at $9.5 million cap hit. I think a lot of people out there now knowing that that's what his cap hit would be, you at least have to entertain the idea because Sam Darnold cap hit at $30 million, Derek Carr cap hit $30 million. You're looking at Justin Fields. It's going to be even more. I don't think Rodgers is a top 20 quarterback, but Rodgers with Tom Brady, John Spytek, Pete Carroll at $9.5 million, and the money is going to be more out of Mark Davis's pocket. I don't think it's that terrible of idea compared to what I thought just a few hours before making this show. Coming up next here is this. Is Matthew Stafford an option for the Las Vegas Raiders? We've talked about Darnold. We've sat up here and we've talked about Aaron Rodgers and that Rodgers contract. You have to admit, it's a lot more interesting knowing that, yeah, Mark's going to have to pay him, but the cap hit's really all I care about. 9.5 cap hit for Rodgers? It's not the worst idea I've heard. I'll tell you this. I'll take Rodgers at 9.5 before I pay Gardner Minshew 9.5. That's a no-doubter. Before we get into Matthew Stafford and whether or not he is an option, we will talk about this. And this is something that we did last year, and it was a huge success. Had a lot of fun doing it. If you entered our March Madness bracket, we're doing it again. We do duck races all the time on this show, and we are going to be doing 1v1 duck races, and it is a March Madness tournament. It's going to be the first 64 people that send in $50 to my Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. I'm not starting it yet, so please don't send me any money right now. The winner is going to get $1,600. All I'm saying is this. Keep this in the back of your mind. We are going to start promoting this, and then once March Madness is getting close to get started, I want to have 64 people in. We're going to do duck races. David's won it last season, and I think it was a lot of fun, and I want more people to get it in. So basically what I'm saying is this. If you're not already friends with me on Venmo, add me as a friend at Mitchell Renz 365 because I don't want you to miss this opportunity because it is a lot of fun once these duck races 1v1s get going. So let's talk about Matthew Stafford now potentially joining the Raiders. And there's some rumors right now going on with Los Angeles potentially moving on from their veteran quarterback. They're already going to be moving on from Cooper Kupp. His wife did say, what did she say exactly? She was like talking about how she's okay with the idea of them moving on from him. She's ready for a change. She said it on her own podcast. CBS then today linked Matthew Stafford to the Las Vegas Raiders, and it's not going to surprise anyone. Every QB will be linked to Las Vegas this offseason, but the Raiders are going to keep their options open, and they're going to look at free agency. They're going to look at trades. They're going to be looking at every single potential revolving door because all options are on the table. The Raiders are going to be aggressive. Pete Carroll, John Spytek, they're going to be aggressive. Chip Kelly's going to want to be aggressive. Tom Brady's going to want to go out and be aggressive. And I know that Stafford is the best option out of any quarterback that I have talked about on this show. Quite frankly, Stafford is the best available quarterback. But that's the problem. Is there a chance that the Rams decide to move on from Stafford? To me, the only way that the Rams trade away Stafford is if Sean McVay takes that Amazon gig, because Amazon offered him a 5-year, $20 million per year deal, $100 million in total, and that's more than what he makes being a head coach. From what I know right now, though, Sean McVay's going to stay, and because Sean McVay's staying, Matthew Stafford of the Raiders, it's not going to happen. Tuck rule, tuck that, fake news, whatever you want to call it, that's what this is. And I say that simply because of the dollars and cents of Stafford's contract. If the Rams are shopping Stafford, I promise you I make a video ASAP Rocky talking about how the Raiders have to go out and trade for Stafford. The problem is this. If the Rams trade Stafford, it's going to cost them $45.3 million and dead cap. They save only $4.3. Or Stafford just plays on the Rams for $49.6 million. So you can either have Stafford on the Rams for $49.6 or you trade him away for $45.3. I think they're just going to pay the extra $4.3 and keep him on the team. I will admit, though, if there is a year where Stafford gets dealt, I see it being next season because he's got no money guaranteed in 2026, and that's usually when he's going to want a brand new contract. The Rams at that point, that's the season I think Sean McVay decides to move on, and then it's a whole new conversation. But let me get one thing very clear. If the Rams are shopping Matthew Stafford, I would take him over any quarterback in free agency. Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. I would take him over any other. Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't matter. If Matthew Stafford, there's a chance that the Raiders go out and get him, I would do everything to try to do it besides give up my first-round pick. If the Rams said, hey, it's number 37 overall for Matthew Stafford, are you doing it? I'm giving up pick 37 for Stafford because he makes us a playoff caliber team. And dare I say it, if we crush free agency, if we crush the draft, tell me why we can't win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford.